The galaxy would later say this was the moment humans proved they were more dangerous with compassion than with weapons. On the edge of colony world Kepri 9, during the worst electrical storm in recorded history, a starving alien mother left her dying child at the door of the only human she thought might not kill it. She did not expect mercy. She expected a miracle. Inside the small atmospheric research outpost, Elias Rowan was arguing with a broken coffee machine. He had been stationed alone on Kepri 9 for 8 months. Officially, he was studying soil regeneration and fungal ecosystems. Unofficially, he was proving that humans could survive anywhere if they were stubborn enough. Thunder shook the metal walls. Blue lightning cracked across the violet sky outside. The planet's twin moons flickered through sheets of rain. Then he heard it. Not thunder. Not wind. Crying. Elias froze. It was faint. Weak. Almost swallowed by the storm. He grabbed his thermal jacket and opened the reinforced door. Wind slammed into him like a wall. Rain soaked him instantly. At first he saw nothing. Then lightning flashed. Something small sat on his doorstep, wrapped in torn silver fabric. Moving. He dropped to his knees and pulled the bundle inside. The crying became clearer. Inside the cloth was a tiny alien infant. Its skin shimmered like liquid crystal, shifting colors with every movement. Large black eyes blinked slowly. Its limbs were thin, too thin. Ribs showed beneath its fragile body. It was starving. Elias had seen dozens of alien species in training simulations, but this one. His breath caught. The child belonged to the Varelian species. The colony had labeled them hostile scavengers. Dangerous. Unstable. There were active patrols hunting them beyond the settlement perimeter. And one of their babies was in his hands. The infant's breathing slowed. Elias didn't hesitate. Not today, he whispered. He sealed the door and rushed to the med station. He scanned the child's biology. The system struggled to identify its chemistry, but it gave him something useful: protein deficiency, dehydration, low core temperature. All right, he said calmly, slipping into problem-solving mode. We fix what we can. He modified a nutrient solution using emergency survival rations and fungal protein extracts he had been studying. He adjusted the mineral content. Tested it twice. Then he fed the alien infant drop by drop. The baby reacted immediately. Weak at first. Then desperate. It clung to the feeding tube with surprising strength. Yeah, Elias said softly. Fight. That's it. Minutes passed. Color slowly returned to its skin. The crying stopped. But something else began. His perimeter alarm blinked red. Heat signatures outside. Large ones. Elias walked to the security monitor. One figure. Massive. Collapsing near the tree line. He stared. Then he swore under his breath. Because now he understood. The mother. She hadn't abandoned her baby. She had delivered it. Through the storm. Through patrol zones. Through open bounty territory. And she had stayed just far enough away not to be shot on sight. Elias grabbed a thermal blanket and emergency trauma kit. Of course you stayed, he muttered. You wanted to see if I'd kill it. Rain hit his face as he ran toward the heat signature. He found her 50 meters from the station. She was enormous compared to the child. Nearly 7 feet tall. Her crystalline skin was cracked and faded. Deep burn marks ran across her side. Plasma scoring. Hunted. Shot. Left to die. Her breathing was shallow. But when she saw him, she tried to rise. Even wounded, she tried to fight. He slowly raised both hands. It's alive, he said gently. Your baby is alive. She froze. The storm roared around them. She searched his face for deception. He activated his wrist projector and displayed a live feed from inside the station. The infant was visible on screen, wrapped in warmth. Alive. The mother made a sound. Not a roar. Not a threat. A broken, trembling sound. Relief. Her body gave out. Elias caught her before she hit the ground. She was heavy. But adrenaline and determination made humans dangerous creatures. He dragged her through mud and rain back to the station. Inside, he sealed the doors and locked the system into private mode. Harboring a Varelian was punishable by exile. Or worse. He didn't care. He stabilized her wounds using synth fiber patches and accelerated tissue gel. The plasma burns were severe but not fatal. As he worked, she watched him through half-lidded eyes. Confused. Humans were hunters. Humans burned nests. Humans posted bounties. Why was this one saving her? Hours passed. The storm began to fade. The infant woke and made soft chirping sounds. The mother heard it. Energy surged through her exhausted body. She tried to sit up. Elias stepped aside and allowed her to see. He gently placed the baby in her arms. The moment she touched her child, her skin brightened with waves of soft violet light. The baby responded with glowing pulses of blue. They were communicating. Not with words. With light. Elias stepped back quietly. For the first time since arriving on Kepri 9. He didn't feel alone. But peace never lasts long in frontier colonies. His console chimed. Incoming transmission from Colonial Security Command. Priority level. Immediate. He stared at the flashing message. Then at the alien mother holding her child. Then back at the screen. Because outside his station, search drones had just been deployed. And the thermal sweep radius was expanding. Straight toward him. The galaxy believed humans were ruthless survivors. It was about to learn something far more terrifying. Humans protect what they choose to protect. And Elias Rowan had just made his choice. The first search drone passed over Elias's station 3 minutes after the storm ended. It moved like a silent ghost in the sky, its red scanning beam sweeping across the forest in perfect lines. Colonial security did not waste time. When they hunted to finish. Inside the station, Elias shut down every non-essential power source. Lights dimmed. Systems went quiet. He switched the building to geothermal backup to reduce thermal output. The alien mother watched him carefully. She understood something was wrong. Her skin darkened to a dull gray, blending with the shadows of the room. Instinct. Camouflage. Elias glanced at her. "They're looking for you," he said softly. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Danger. He pulled up the external scanners. 3 drones now. Expanding grid pattern. They would detect her residual heat trail within minutes. Unless he erased it. Elias moved fast. He activated the agricultural misting system outside the station and overloaded it. Thick vapor sprayed into the forest, mixing with storm moisture and ground fog. Then he released a burst of fungal spores from his research chamber. The spores reacted with moisture in the air, creating microscopic interference particles. The red scanning beam above flickered. Distorted. "Come on," Elias muttered. The drone paused mid-air, recalibrating. The mother's eyes widened. He wasn't hiding. He was fighting. With plants. With weather. With science. Another drone approached from the east. Elias opened the colony frequency and listened. Thermal anomalies detected near Outpost 17. That was him. Investigate. His heart pounded once. Then slowed. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the fastest. But they were very, very good at solving problems under pressure. He turned to the mother. He pointed at himself. Elias. Then at her. She hesitated. Then touched her chest. "Valwyn." Her voice was layered, like wind through glass. He nodded once. "Valwyn." Then he pointed upward, mimicking flying. She stiffened. "Hunters." She moved quickly now, cradling her child. She tapped her temple, then reached toward his console. Elias blinked. "You understand tech." Valawayan species had been labeled primitive scavengers. But what she did next shattered that lie. She pointed at the drone's frequency band displayed on his screen. Then she adjusted it, slightly. The drone feed shifted. She made a slicing motion across the projection. Interference. Not random. Directed. Elias stared at her. You can disrupt them. Her eyes flashed bright violet. Yes. The next drone passed overhead. This time, the scanning beam skipped his station entirely. It moved on. Elias felt something shift inside him. The colony had been wrong. These were not pests. They were intelligent. Advanced in ways humans had not bothered to understand. A new voice crackled over the comm channel. Ground patrol deploying. Sweep all civilian outposts within 5-kilometer radius. Boots. Guns. Questions. This was getting worse. Elias thought fast. If patrol officers entered his station, thermal scans inside would expose Verne instantly. Unless. He turned to his research lab. The healing fungi. The same bioactive organisms that accelerated tissue repair also emitted low-level thermal radiation when stimulated. He activated every growth tray. The lab filled with soft golden light as hundreds of fungal colonies activated simultaneously. The station's internal heat signature spiked everywhere. Uniform. Chaotic. Impossible to isolate a single body. Valouen watched with growing realization. He wasn't just hiding her. He was turning his entire home into a shield. A knock hit the outer door. Hard. Colonial security. Open immediately. Elias inhaled slowly. He looked at Vane. Then at the baby. Trust me, he said. She hesitated only a second. Then she stepped into the fungal lab chamber and dimmed her skin until she blended with the glowing organisms. The child followed her example instinctively, its body shifting color to match the surroundings. Camouflage beyond anything human tech could replicate. Elias sealed the lab door and walked calmly to the entrance. He opened it. 2 officers stood there in full armor. Behind them hovered a combat drone. We detected anomalous heat patterns, the lead officer said. Explain. Elias crossed his arms. Calm. Slightly annoyed scientist energy. Yes, he replied. Because you flew military hardware through my fungal atmospheric trials. He gestured behind him. I warned Command last month that electromagnetic pulses would trigger thermal blooms in my samples. The officer frowned. You're saying this is your fault? I'm saying, Elias said smoothly, if you destroy 8 months of research, the Agricultural Board will personally request a review of your conduct. Silence. The second officer shifted uncomfortably. Paperwork was more terrifying than aliens. The drone scanned past Elias into the station. Every room glowed with identical thermal noise. No distinct life forms. Just chaos. The lead officer exhaled sharply. Fine. Shut down whatever experiment you're running. When the storm interference clears, Elias replied. The officers stepped back. The door closed. Elias waited. 1 minute. 2. 3. The patrol signal faded from his scanner. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. He rushed to the lab chamber and opened it. Verne stepped out slowly. Her eyes locked on his. There was something new in them. Not fear. Not confusion. Respect. She approached him carefully. Then she did something unexpected. She extended her hand and touched his chest. Over his heart. A soft pulse of light traveled from her skin to his. The translation interface on his console flickered. A single word appeared on screen. Protector. Elias swallowed. No, he said quietly. Partner. Before she could respond, his external sensors screamed again. But this time, it wasn't colonial security. Multiple ships had just entered low orbit. Unregistered. Massive. And broadcasting on Varelian frequencies. Varen's skin turned bright silver in shock. Her species had not abandoned her. They had come. But they weren't alone. Behind the unknown vessels, colony defense cruisers were powering weapons. 2 sides. 1 battlefield. And Elias's tiny research station sat directly beneath the projected engagement zone. The baby began to cry. Voen looked at Elias with sudden urgency. She projected a star map onto his console using her own bioluminescent interface. Coordinates blinked. Ancient. Hidden. Important. Her voice trembled as she forced the translation system to cooperate. Home, dying, need, human help. Elias stared at the warships forming in orbit. Then back at her. The colony believed humans were masters of war. But humanity's true power was something far more dangerous. Choice. And Elias Rowan was about to choose again. Above them, the first warning shots lit up the sky. The war for Kepri 9 had just begun. And neither side realized. The smallest species in the conflict had just become the most important one. The first explosion lit the sky like a second sunrise. From the ground, Elias watched streaks of plasma tear across the clouds. Colonial defense ships formed a defensive ring above the settlement. Opposite them, sleek silver Varelian vessels hovered in perfect silence, their hulls glowing like living crystal. One wrong move and Kepri 9 would burn. Inside the station, alarms wailed across every frequency. Emergency alerts flooded civilian networks. Evacuation orders began to scroll across Elias's console. Voen stood beside him, her child clutched to her chest. Her skin flashed with sharp pulses of silver and blue. Fear. Anger. Desperation. Through the damaged translation interface, her words formed slowly. They think, humans kill us. We think, humans destroy home. Elias nodded once. And both sides are about to prove themselves right. Another blast shook the sky. A defense cruiser fired warning shots. One Varelian ship responded with a defensive flare that disabled 3 satellites instantly. The next escalation would not be a warning. It would be war. Elias looked at the star map Voen had shown him earlier. Her homeworld pulsed in red. Dying. Environmental collapse. Resource failure. The Varelians were not raiders. They were refugees. The colony had never asked why they were here. Humans had assumed invasion. Varelians had assumed extermination. Fear had done the rest. Elias moved fast. He opened a public broadcast channel. Then he did something no protocol manual would ever recommend. He linked his station feed to both fleets. Every screen in orbit suddenly displayed the same image. A human. An alien mother. A child glowing softly between them. Command channels erupted in confusion. Who authorized this transmission? Elias ignored it. He turned the camera toward Voen. She hesitated. Then stepped forward. Her skin brightened in calm waves of violet. Through the translation system, her voice carried into orbit. We did not come to conquer. Static crackled. Defense ships powered weapons higher. Elias raised his hand. Stand down, he said firmly into the broadcast. You want to know what they are? Look at them. He zoomed in on the child. Small. Fragile. Alive only because a human had chosen compassion. They're not invaders, Elias continued. They are survivors. Just like us. A defense commander's face appeared on screen. You're harboring a classified hostile species. I'm harboring a mother, Elias shot back. Silence followed. Voen stepped closer to the camera. She projected star charts, ecological data, atmospheric collapse models. Her species had tried everything to save their world. They failed. But before leaving, they encoded something into their ships. Biological knowledge. Planetary engineering techniques. Living architecture systems far beyond current human understanding. Elias understood instantly. You can terraform without strip mining, he said quietly. Valoien nodded. Her species grew cities instead of building them. He turned back to the defense commander. You've been trying to stabilize Kepri 9's soil for 20 years. I've been studying fungal repair systems because our methods aren't fast enough. He gestured to Voen. They can help us heal worlds instead of exhausting them. Another explosion flared above, but this one came from neither fleet. A third signal appeared on the sensor grid. Unknown origin. Massive. A silent warship slipped from dark space beyond the moon. Neither human nor Varelian. Both fleets paused. The unknown vessel transmitted a single message across all channels. Conflict detected. Resource acquisition protocol engaged. Elias felt his blood run cold. A scavenger civilization. Advanced. Predatory. They had waited for weakened species to fight. Now they were here to harvest both. The alien warship fired once. A colonial cruiser vanished. Not destroyed. Erased. No debris. No signal. Just gone. Shock rippled through both fleets. Valoin's skin flared red in terror. Elias did not freeze. Humans rarely win by strength. They win by thinking faster than fear. He grabbed the console and began calculating. The scavenger ship used gravitational lensing tech. Micro-singularity pulses. Energy expensive. Requires recharge cycles. He scanned orbital debris patterns from the previous shots. There. A delay window. 12 seconds between firing and stabilization. He turned to Vane. You can manipulate light. Camouflage entire vessels, right? She nodded sharply. Can you bend signals? She hesitated. Then understood. Her species didn't just change color. They manipulated refracted wavelengths. Living stealth technology. Elias opened a fleet-wide channel. All human ships. Cut weapons. Divert power to sensor echo amplification. The defense commander stared at him. Are you insane? Trust me. Valoin transmitted instructions to her fleet in bursts of radiant pulses. The Varelian ships shifted formation instantly. The scavenger vessel prepared another shot. Its singularity core glowed. Elias counted. Now. Human ships blasted wide-spectrum sensor echoes into space. At the same moment, Varelian vessels bent and refracted those signals. To the scavenger warship's targeting system. Space filled with hundreds of false fleet signatures. Ghost ships. Phantom energy spikes. The Predator fired. Its singularity blast consumed empty coordinates. Missed everything. Before it could recharge, Varelian ships redirected focused solar radiation through their crystalline hulls. Humans amplified the beam with mining lasers. Together, the combined strike hit the Predator's lensing array during its vulnerable recharge window. The warship flickered. Destabilized. Then folded inward as its own gravity weapon backfired. Silence filled orbit. The scavenger threat vanished. No human fleet alone could have done that. No Varelian fleet alone could have done that. But, together, they had just defeated something older and stronger than both. Across open channels, stunned commanders processed what had happened. The defense commander looked at Elias again. You coordinated that. No, Elias said calmly. We did. He stepped aside so Valoin stood fully visible beside him. The image of a human and an alien mother filled every screen. The child between them pulsed with soft blue light. Life. Future. Possibility. After a long moment, the defense commander powered down his weapons. One by one, human ships followed. Varelian vessels dimmed their combat systems in response. A new silence settled over Kepri 9. Not the silence of fear. The silence of realization. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the most advanced. But they possessed something rare. The ability to choose cooperation when war was easier. Weeks later, joint projects began. Varelian bioarchitecture merged with human engineering. Soil regeneration accelerated beyond projections. Cities began to grow instead of spread. Worlds once considered lost were marked for restoration. And in a small research station at the edge of a forest, a human scientist often sat on the floor teaching a glowing alien child how to pronounce simple Earth words. Hope, Elias would say. The child would repeat it in shimmering light. Across the galaxy, species whispered about the battle over Kepri 9. They did not speak about weapons. They did not speak about fleets. They spoke about the moment a human chose to open his door during a storm. Because that was the day the galaxy learned the most dangerous truth of all. Humans do not just survive impossible odds. They redefine them. And sometimes, the strongest act of defiance in the universe is kindness.